Chavez. Chris Chavez. Are we live? Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is so wonderful to be here. Don't I have an amazing background behind me? That's because we have an amazing guest today. And this was one of his bands. And this is from Men of Letters from Reviva. And I can't wait to have Chris Chavez tell you all about it. So fasten your seatbelts. You got to be that for safety. And get ready for an inspiring ride. Tonight, we have a true visionary leader, but also a true innovator in the world of marketing and business development. Please join me in welcoming the amazing Chris Chavez, the CEO of Blue Summit Creative. He has a very interesting start of his career. He actually started in music. I believe he even got a music major and then did like unbelievable things in Wyoming. I have my Wyoming shirt right here. Yes, Wyoming. Can we see? And decided to move closer to Colorado, the hub. And he was in music, a guitarist, a singer, a drummer, internationally, played in Germany. He's also a solo web developer, creating stunning websites from his basement when he started. And now, fast forward to today, he leads a dynamic team at Blue Summit Creative. And I can't wait to hear a lot more about that. Where he's not just making pretty websites, they're all driving results and helping businesses thrive and helping you build your network. Because as you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you and how you help. From networking progress to groundbreaking coaching programs, Chris has a wealth of knowledge and he's going to share it with us, an experience to share, and he's here to talk about his journey. So without further ado, Chris Chavez.
Hey.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia.
You're already having a message from Eric B. Flanore. It's kind of a big deal, Chris Chavez.
Oh, Eric's a big deal.
Woohoo. You guys have the same taste in music, I hear.
Yeah, that is true.
From our
Loud
friend.
and obnoxious.
I didn't know that he's such a soulful man. So, Chris, I think we should start with explaining their background from Men of Letters and then go from there. Yeah?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it goes back even probably a little further than that. I started touring when I was 18, right out of high school. And, in high school, I built a couple websites and things like that. And it was kind of out of necessity because the band needed a website. And that was kind of my introduction to all that. Didn't know really a whole lot about anything, but that was kind of how those two things sort of started. My first bands when I was like 14 and all through high school, we were, the obnoxious kids in the garage. And yeah,
remember them.
Now we're just the obnoxious adults in the neighborhood. It's like the same thing. So
more fun now.
Yeah. And, we haven't been actively playing, but we did recently start writing again. So that's pretty exciting, pretty fun. But yeah, I started touring when I was, just right out of school, and through all the college years, I was a music major for a while, and I ended up kind of hating music because it was just not where I wanted to be with it. And so I had switched majors. I got a degree in communication, which I also don't use now. And so, it just kind of that shift, but I wanted to do something where I could tour and be a freelancer and be able to be on the road. That was really important. And then it just kind of happened, I kept doing that kind of stuff. I did work at an agency for a while, and that halted the touring, and that didn't feel very good either. So I got back into touring. I left that job and I started as a freelancer again, working on what I could from the road. So that's kind of how those two things went hand in hand. There's always been something where I didn't want to be tied down at a job, right? Like I used to have that mentality of I want to be my own boss, until I figured out I didn't want to own a job. And then also the music needed to be there. And, there's like periods in my life where maybe I don't play a lot of music, and it feels a little weird, right? Being a person that's how you get it out, how you express everything that you're thinking about. So the guys and I have been talking last couple months, and we finally started putting some stuff down. So it's really exciting.
Very exciting. And you play You sing, you play the guitar, the drums, and whatever else you just decide you want to do, you can just pick it up because you have that gift.
I mean, yeah, I can fake my way through a lot of things, so that's fun. But yeah, primarily when I've played in bands, it's been guitar and singing.
And you traveled internationally, so you must have been doing really well.
That was with a different band, actually. I played drums in that one, but it was a lot of fun.
What kind of drums did you play?
What's that?
What kind of drums did you play?
I have a. Say again, sorry.
What kind of drums did you play? Did you travel with the whole
Oh
profession?
yeah,
Great
oh yeah,
bigs?
yeah. And we rented a kit over there, just because I wasn't going to bring mine around, fly him to Germany. But yeah, just like you would hear in a rock band, loud and big drums.
And where were you playing? Were you playing what kind of venues?
Well, half of the tour was with a larger band over there called Jupiter Jones, and those venues were big. Those were cool. And then on the other half of the tour, we got back to schlepping our own gear, no more catering, buying your own stuff, and so we got to. It felt like home. It felt like home. Yeah.
And you probably like them both. There's probably good and bad aspects about both.
It was weird when I would show up in a different city in another country, and my stuff was there set up. That was weird.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was cool, but it was weird.
Yeah, I could see a certain amount of, did they do it right? Checking it out.
They were pros, because I mean they knew what they were doing. Like I said, they were one of the more popular bands to come out of Germany, and they had the right crew, and they took really good care of us. Those guys they were awesome.
Wow. Good memories, good stories.
Yeah.
And you didn't continue doing that because you fell in love and got a wife and kids, or?
So yeah, we had kids. Our daughter was born a year after that tour, and then I haven't been on the road since. And our son was born in 2019, and it's just been about the children. So.
And that's what we do for love and family.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're a little more stable. They're kind of young still, right? They're what, 4 and 6? They're in school, or 5 and something like
4
that.
and 6, that's right.
4 and
Yeah.
6. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, no, they're a lot of fun, and I mean, I can tell you that's more rewarding than
anything in the world. Yes.
Yeah, that's been amazing. They just started getting into, I'm teaching them how to fish, so we've been working on casting, things like that, and they're taking interest in those kind of things, but they also will sit me down and be like, "Daddy, play a song for us." So that's pretty cool too.
Yes. Do they have an interest in music besides Daddy sit down? Are they?
I can see my son being a drummer. He likes to hit things, including me.
Oh.
And my daughter's definitely a dancer.
Ah.
Yeah. So they love music.
And is there a music that they like? Like a certain.
My daughter claims that she does not like rock and roll, but when I'm not looking, she's bobbing her head. And then she wanted to hear the Men of Letters stuff, and I'll play that for them. And now she suddenly likes rock and roll, but only when Daddy's singing it. And so, yeah. My son just likes everything. He likes my favorite band. Too, so, yeah.
You've got fans built in now.
Yeah.
You made your own fans.
I got the two that matter.
And your wife.
Yeah.
Does she sing? Is she musically inclined as well?
Back in high school, she was a musician, but hasn't touched anything.
George, we agree with you. Thank you for being on. Family is important.
Hey, George. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It is so wonderful. Are they in school? Are they being homeschooled? Do they go to kindergarten to first grade or summer?
So, yeah, my son will start kindergarten this coming school year, and my daughter was just in kindergarten this last school year, and they're at a charter school here in the town over.
Very nice. Very nice. So now you can start your band. How are you going to do it? Are you going to do appearances locally? You're going to be, because you're in Colorado, right? There's a lot happening in Colorado. There will be a lot of places for you to go.
My answer to everything these days is impeccable time blocking is the only way.
How do you do that? How do you do that?
Well, you have to put the family stuff in first, right? That's what takes precedence. And even prior to that, you should put in your own self-care and things you do for yourself. So if you have a morning routine, if you're one of those people, that's the first thing that goes in, uninterrupted. And then family things, then recurring meetings, and then fill in the schedule with stuff you have to do. So that's It sounds easy when I say it like that, but it really just does take discipline. And that's where people usually fall short on the calendar. They don't have the discipline to stick with it.
So what method do you use for it? Are you using, dare say, AI to run it up for you?
I haven't figured out how to use AI to run everything for me. I will tell you, I use AI every day, every single day.
How?
And I did actually put like list items of things that need to get done on certain days. And I did put it into ChatGPT, and it gave me a pretty decent calendar. So, I mean, it is possible, but it can't export an iCal file, because that would be the cool thing, is like, all right, make my calendar and I'll just import it in. But it didn't do that. So AI is a great tool, and I use it for literally everything except for writing a song. I refuse to use it for that. Because who really takes the credit for writing? You or the machine.
Yeah.
Right. And that kind of gets into that whole plagiarism of somebody else's work. And, because that's how these models are built, is on information that exists. Mm-hmm. So where does it get the ideas? Is it really your idea at that point? Even if you tell it a really good prompt, right? So that's like the one thing for me, is like, I still need the creative outlet for that. And so I'm not going to do that. But there's some really cool stuff that people are doing with AI for music. So it's out there.
What else are you doing with your AI? With your Blue Summit Creative, right?
Yeah, you can use it to generate content. A lot of people use it for writing copy for web pages, Facebook posts, Instagram things. If you get really creative, you can tell it to write you a script for like a thing like this, so it can give you an outline based on the other stuff you put in there. You can use it to create all kinds of things. I've even used it to create code when I just don't feel like writing it myself. I'm like, I got to get this done now, and it'll do a pretty decent job. So there's a lot of ways you can use it.
Eric says, nothing brings family together like some good music. Got a rocker, a dancer, and praise the worship leader, a rapping MC, and a uner in the house, and me. I'm all one, gumbo.
Can I say one thing about Eric?
Yes, you may. He's
Eric
so
Illinois is like one of the most positive people I know. I mean, I can say like the most negative thing. He's like, no, brother, you got to turn it around like this. Like, he's just the most positive person, and I love that.
He is, and he's so supportive, because he supports all of us from Grow Live Academy and others. And he has his own little thing every morning. I don't know if you catch it. I catch it sometimes. Do you catch that?
I have not actually been able to catch that at that time.
Okay, well, you will.
Thanks for the invite, Eric. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, just hop on the morning and you go find it. He gives you a little, or one of his little cooking things when he's cooking for his son. One day I just wanted that dessert, Eric. Leslie says AI is fire. Yes, I need to embrace AI.
So Leslie's one of our team members, and she went and created an image that was supposed to be me, my headshot, and I couldn't use it. Like, it was hilarious, and it looked nothing like me, but it was pretty fun. I'm surprised what it came up with.
Darlene? Hi, Darlene. Thanks for joining. And Lynn's here. Hi, Lynn.
Hey, Lynn.
Thanks, all here. Woohoo, woohoo.
Hey, stranger.
I saw that in the chat, and I said, oh, there you go, from Eric, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central Time, brother. I saw that someone said, why didn't you use my headshot? So I did text them back. Well, send it over to me. We'll put it in. We can still put it in the thank you note for the people that sign in from their email list. So if you send it over, we can put that in.
All right, Leslie, send it.
Yes. I think it'd be fun. We love creative stuff. Anyway, back to your get out of your own way kind of conversations. Like, did that come from Blue Summit Creative? Is that just something I pulled out from someplace? Because I'm like, that is true. Our biggest problem is us.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, like, because we have a coaching program, for example, and it's not like we say anything in there that nobody else had the thought, right? But you still have to put it out there, and that is one of those things. Is like, get out of your own way. The trick is actually doing it. Most people do not know how to do that, and so I really do live and die by the calendar. Like, that is my go-to. And the reason for that is it really gives me a picture of if I'm really working on the right things or not. And if I'm not, I can tell when my productivity is starting to take a tank. That's when it's time to hire somebody. That's usually a good way to do that. If I do the whole refuse the hiring somebody because I think it's not the right time or whatever, that's typically me just not getting out of my own way. Right? It's that innate instinct of being a control freak that business owners have. Like we can only take care of this business ourselves because it's my baby. I started this, and everybody else is just going to mess it up, and that's just not true. Like all the little mundane tasks that Leslie does, for example, are all the things I don't need to be working on to continue to grow the business. And she fills that role way better than I do. And because she's not so close to it, she probably can do it more efficiently than I can. So, I mean, it's just that shift in your brain that you're not necessarily the one that's supposed to be doing that thing. That's usually a good place to start. And that has everything to do with time, right? It's the only thing that we have that we can control, and people seem to think that they don't have control over that. Usually people think that the focus is about the money, and it's really not. I mean, if you're just wasting all of your time on things, there will be no money, right? And that's kind of what that shift is. And you need money for a business. You have to have cash flow. But if you're not out creating the cash flow, then by extension, there's no business. So you need to get out of your own way.
What inspired you to do this?
Which part?
Well, you were on the road, you're doing music, you had a family, you decided you had to make money, you decided that your best thing was networking and bringing in, because you were doing it to get business as a band, right? When you came back to the US, you were your own, I mean, whoever said, come be where at this school and do this thing, you did it, but then you had to make sure that, I understand you made flyers and you went, like, I did that too. I sold copiers, so I would go in the building and I would go through the whole building and give them my flyer and tell them about me. And then when I sold one in that building, I would tell everyone to go see it, and I do a demo down there, and I have a coffee and tea thing. And I think that's the same kind of thing you were doing to get the seeds growing.
It was in the beginning. So I remember being in one of the bands I was in when I was first touring. We were one of the very first bands on MySpace, and that was a way that we got everything out there. But at that time, you still had to be on the road. And so, like, blast from the past here, walking up and down the high school hallways, handing out flyers, telling your friends, hey, come to my show. My terrible band is playing. And they all come show up and support your band. And I mean, that's where we all started in that. And so, fast forward to now, we don't really have to tour the same way. You still probably should to get the masses, and people still want to see you play. But if you look at the way that music has changed, everything's on Spotify, everything's on YouTube, everything's on SoundCloud, all these different streaming kind of services. You can get your music out in a much different way. Now that's more about marketing than it is about grassroots guerrilla hanging out, giving the flyers outside when the bell rings at school. Like that still probably would work, but locally, and it just gets harder now to tour. I mean, it's more expensive. Right, just gas prices alone. For anybody that thinks that musicians make money, you don't. Not really. There's the upper echelon of those bands that really do make money. I was making enough on those tours, like in Europe. I was making enough on those tours to pay the mortgage. That was it. That was all I made. And I mean, we're talking just a handful of dollars here and there, and the rest of it goes to gas, hotel rooms, and all that kind of stuff. There's not leftover cash like that. So it's not the extravagant lifestyle that everybody seems to think that it is. But to answer your question, I was actually sitting in Germany working, trying to run my team 8 hours ahead of where we live. And that's when I kind of started to see, like, okay, I got to take this thing seriously because I need to make real money. And, we want to start a family, all these things. So we need to make some decisions here. And so that was the biggest reason for not touring, because I needed to kind of choose, like, I can be the starving artist, and I'm not that kind of person where I
hate that word.
I need to do that. That's not for me. But I had that whole realization of, like, okay, well, kids cost money. Babies are very expensive.
Very expensive.
So, and we had two. So there's just, I needed to take it very seriously, and I needed to be home to be able to take care of the team. And so that is kind of where the big shift happened. Was I can play music later. I have no, delusions about being on the big stages or whatever. That's not really my goal with it. I mean, yeah, that would be cool, but that's not why I do it. So I didn't feel like I failed at it, or I was just putting it on hold because I had other things that took precedence. And that got me really into pushing hard on the business stuff. And I got really into that. But a little shout out to Zena Krogadal. She's the one that made the connection that, for me, touring and doing all that stuff, that was networking. That was networking, and getting yourself into those circles to get on the bigger shows, to do all those other things that we said we wanted to do. That requires talking to people. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where my business ventures headed. Was everything's really done through that lens of networking. And, like we were talking about before we started, people don't do networking right. They start by asking questions like, so what do you do? Like, Cynthia, what do you do? That's a terrible question.
I bring joy. I bring joy to my guests and to the world and to everyone who meets me. And I make it every place a better, happier, sunnier place when I leave.
Yeah. See, but I didn't ask a good question. You're just good at answering that question. Like, I need to do a better job of asking a question. Like, a better thing would be like, I'm not very cool. I don't have an IMDb page, but I know Cynthia does. And I want to know the story of what happened between the Toxic Avenger, which I have seen. What happened?
Did his research too.
I did, but I've seen that movie before. And but what happened between the Toxic Avenger in 1984 to 2024? That's a lot of years. There's a lot of life that happened in between that. So Cynthia, tell me from that point to that point. Tell me everything that happened. Well, that
family.
There you go. So tell me more about your family. Do you have children?
And Sandy Archer said, agreed, musicians don't make as much as everyone thinks.
We don't.
And neither do actresses and models. Yeah. Although I did very, very well. And it was a really wonderful experience. And I've always naturally been networking. And and I'm really excited to be starting to do it again. So how are you going to do your music this round, now that you're going to be global?
I don't know. We don't have an agenda of playing shows. There's no pressure to go get on the road, play for this label, do this thing. There's no pressure to do that. It's literally, hey guys, I wrote a thing, send it to them, and see what they think. And it's like, oh, we like that, cool, let's record it, and then we'll see what we do with it later. So we've been talking a lot about, because like the background behind you there, Reviver, it's 4 songs that we thought were like the best representation of what Men of Letters is. And, in that time, talk about lots of years going by, that came out in 2016. And so a lot has changed in 8 years. And we've had children, we've had other things come up in our lives. So you even write differently. You approach everything about it differently. Things sound different to you now. Like the things that you really liked about whatever it was back then and that headspace you were in, that's a lot of time, a lot of life has happened. And so I think the way that we approach it is much more going to be around the meaning, around the music, and around the stories that we're going to tell through that, and not focus so much on playing shows, going and doing things live, and touring. It just requires such a big time commitment. Mm-hmm. And not everybody can just walk away from what they're doing. Now I have multiple businesses, I can walk away from them, but some of the other guys have like 9-to-5s, and that's it. They're not going anywhere. And that's a very real conversation that we've had. Is like, well, we all have children. We all would much rather get them together, watch them play, and eat food and hang out with each other, rather than going and living in a van with 5 or 6 dudes and not getting showers and on a regular basis. Because that's the reality of it. And that we have lifestyles now that we like to fund, and it requires making certain kinds of decisions. So yeah, the focus is really just around, we're going to play music that sounds good to us. Hopefully some other people dig it, and we think it's rad, so we're going to put it out. Those guys, if they want to listen to it, it's out there. It's great. And we'll put it up on all the channels and call it good.
Do the other gentlemen live in close to you? Like, can you get together physically, or are you going to do it on Zoom or?
Yeah, I mean, we do everything. We were doing the Dropbox thing years ago, where it's like, hey guys, I got a riff. You know, you record it on your phone, throw it in Dropbox. So we
Yes.
still do that kind of thing. Everybody's got one of these, so we can do that. But yeah, we all live within half hour to an hour of each other.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. You've seen those videos where they're all over the world, they're global, and this one they're all playing the same song or singing the same song, and I think that's very cool. But you can be global just by putting it out in Spotify and all the different platforms. All you have to do is put it together, and you know how to network, and then you've got all the music connections. I'm sure you still have them to get
Some
people
of them, yeah.
to play it.
Yeah,
and then you find out the new ones.
Yeah, like I said, it just works differently now. You know, because when we started, when we were 18, we were using atlases in our van. We didn't have GPS. We didn't do all that. You know, it was just a different landscape. A lot has changed since when I graduated high school 20 years ago. That lot of stuff is different, and especially the way that you consume music now. Like, I remember when I would get so excited when a new record was coming out. My favorite bands would put something out, and I buy vinyl records, like an actual record. But I remember when an album would come out, you used to listen to it start to finish, right? It was front to back, and then there was an A side to B side for me, right? That's how I consumed it, because I love the feel of records. I have tons of them, old records that they just sound different than the music of now. Everything's recorded digitally now, so here's your wavelengths is all right here. Whereas on a record, I listen to like a lot of those old big band jazz records. You get the whole spectrum of sound. You hear a guy coughing or somebody moving their chair in the hall. You don't get that on these records. Everything's perfect. Everything's just exact. So the listening experience is different. I have double gatefold records. These big things, and the artwork and the lyrics were all inside. It was a whole experience of listening to it. Now what do? You pick the one song that you like from one person, and then you go to the next one and you create a playlist. Right? Where, I'm from a generation where we created our own playlists on tapes that we would record from the radio.
Yeah, I remember that. And you'd be waiting. Oh, I missed a piece. I got to wait for the whole thing to come around again.
Yeah, because you didn't push record and play at the same time.
Or
yeah,
someone coughed.
Yeah, and it's just different now, where everything's just so perfect. It's immediate. There is no delayed gratification, right? It's kind of like the streaming services. You remember when a show would come out and you'd watch it, and then you had to wait a week to watch the next one? Now Star Wars will release 4 episodes at midnight, and you just watch all of them. There's no delayed gratification whatsoever. And I think that in some ways that's kind of done a disservice to, actors and actresses, musicians, and that, because there was a waiting period, and you would get excited about it. And it was just all the build up to it. And then you finally watched it, and it was like, yeah, this is awesome. Now everything is just so readily available, and it's on your phone with everything else, and it's just a different landscape. So, like I said, I have no idea what that looks like. The cool thing is that now we can record something. We have recording gear at home. We don't have to go into a big expensive studio to do it and spend our life savings on it. We can just use the gear we own. We recorded that one at our houses, the Reviver thing, and that was cool. We didn't have to go spend a ton of money on it. And we were able to put it out digitally. It was on Spotify like that, so it's just different.
So are you going to approach your music the same way you would approach a new client coming to you?
Ooh, I don't know how to answer that question. In what way?
Well, I'm a new client. I'm coming up to you. This is what I got. How are you going to help me maximize my website, get it out to the people, and sell songs?
Ooh. Well, see, this is where it becomes really interesting. So let's jump over to Blue Summit for a minute and kind of how this whole thing works. It started out as me, the freelancer, in my basement, just being weird, looking at code. That's kind of a joke in the networking organization, that I was the weird guy in the basement. And there was a time where I was like, I need to hire people because I'm selling way too much work. I got really good at that part, but now I'm playing bill collector, and I'll have to do all the work in between. It was just me. I'm like, I got to hire some people. So I did that, and I started to grow that really quickly. And a lot of my clients at the time would say, well, how are you doing that? How are you just getting it done so fast? Things are growing fast. You've got all these clients. You're making money. That's good. me being helpful. I've told this story before. You just do this and this and this, and there you go. That's how you do it. And it hit me one day I could be charging for that information. So suddenly I became a business coach, and that's how that started. And I was like, okay, what can I do differently with the coaching stuff? Well, unfortunately, a lot of coaches, the only business that they've ever grown is their coaching business, and it's regurgitated information that somebody else created, but they've never had any practical use of it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I refuse to be that way. Whatever we put out there is stuff that we've done or are actively doing now. It's going to be our content. So we have this giant library. There's like 300 videos in there of us teaching on different things. And we do a really diligent job of never repeating ourselves. And I can tell you, that's really difficult to do, to create your own content like that. But it really forces you to level up. And that in turn forces you to go grow your business in a much different way. So there was that piece of it. But again, in that time I had started networking a lot, and that's like the missing piece, right? And having all the different components. You have marketing, you have sales training, and business development, you have learning, right? All those things. And then you have to have other people though. And that kind of led me to this concept of what we call the business ecosystem. There's 5 points to this. And the very first one is vision.
Pencils and papers out, folks.
Yeah, write that down. So vision is really important, because without a vision, it's not really much more than just an idea, but no real direction, right? And a lot of people will spend in that time finding their why, right? Like the Simon Sinek exercise, where it really has to do with the impact that you're going to leave on people. Whether that's your family, your team, your community, whatever that looks like to you. And, that's different for everyone. So you get the vision right. Okay, well, that's great. But then you also need to do something of value. What do you actually do? That's when you ask a question like, what do you do for a living? That's a good time to say that. We use marketing as a vehicle. And I tell people that Blue Summit Creative is a business development and sales training organization disguised as a marketing company. The marketing is literally just the vehicle that we use to get all these tools out there for people. So to answer your question partially, the person that approaches us for work or, a new client, whatever we want to call that, you have to understand them at a very deep level, and you have to have the means to act on it. So this is where your company and your clients start to converge in this business ecosystem. So you have your vision, and you have the thing you do, that's your valuable thing, but you need culture. And this applies even if you're a solopreneur, if it's just you. Your culture rubs off on your clients. If you have just a nasty attitude all the time, your clients are going to pick up on that and probably not want to work with you. But if you've got an excellent attitude, you are looking to do a good job for them, your team is got the same mentality, they help carry out that vision, that all really starts to rub off on your clients, so that your clients go, hey, friend of mine, there's this group of people I'm hanging out with, you need to come be a part of this with us. And they see themselves in that. Now that's a really different way of looking at culture in a business, is do your customers feel like they can connect with it, right? The next point after culture, we have resources. And this is where the networking kind of starts to come in, is if you're constantly the person that's out talking to people and building up those connections, for business, for personal, whatever you're doing, and you start going out of your way to refer them, right? You're trying to help them build their businesses. What you're doing is amassing your resources. And you don't even realize you're doing it. But you have to build your resources before you need them. I remember posting this on Facebook in 2018 in March, and almost two years to the day is when lockdown started. And how many people were wishing they had resources then that they had built, right? So the networking and the meeting people and talking, you're setting the stage for the way that you're going to carry all this out through vision, through value, through culture, through resources. And that leaves you with that last piece. It's execution. It's all just ideas unless you just get up and do the work, right? And I'm very much of the thinking that this is where the get out of your own way happens, is that you need to have a plan now. You need to figure out, how are we going to actually do this? And if all those pieces are working, that's really good, right? So when somebody comes to you and they say, oh, well, I need help with these things, blah, 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 blah. A lot of times I get this question of, well, what sets you apart from other marketing companies? And that's when I can say, one, we're not a marketing company. Two, we have a lot of resources. So if you ever need help in the future, we can reciprocate. You're not just a number, right? We can actually help people, because I don't want to be top of mind. I want to be first in line. And when people are constantly coming to you, like, hey, Chris, I get this literally every day. Chris, who do you know that does this? Hey, I need a plumber. Hey, I need a roofer. I need a whatever the thing is they're looking for. I've got one. I've done a really good job of building that up. And I said this, I think I kind of ended this when I was speaking with Zena, is no amount of marketing and, you know, knocking on doors and all the sales stuff, like that's, you need to do all that. You need to be cold calling, you get on the phone, you do the work. But no amount of that is going to outpace a good network.
Right.
And that's true in music. You could be the virtuoso, amazing guitar player, you know, just better than everybody. But if you can't have a conversation with people, it's going to die there. That's really important.
And your core value for your company, people matter.
That's the only one. You know, you can walk into somebody's office and you see the core values everywhere on the walls, and they all say it. They can recite it. Then, you know, that's great. But you can probably distill it down to a lot less than that. You know, you look at an employee handbook and it's like, these are our core values. There's 20 of them. I'm like, how about act with integrity, right? People matter. So if you're always striving to do the right thing, then it doesn't really matter how you got there, because you know what the right thing is, whether that's customer service, right? That's a buzzword a lot of people use. We have excellent customer service. Well, I'd hope so. You know, we have a sunset policy. We get back to our customers that day. Okay, that's great. Whatever. Make it easy for your team to understand what you're trying to accomplish. And the best way that I was able to do that is, you know what? People matter. When your clients come to you and they're looking for your help, it's your duty to help their business grow. That's how your business is going to grow, right? You make it about them. People matter. When you're walking down the street and you have the ability to help someone, do it. People matter, right? If you're always looking at it like that, life starts to become pretty positive. Not a lot of stuff bothers you.
Yeah, it's
that's
very
kind of why that's the one.
Yeah, when you hold the door open for someone, sometimes, especially if they're like a little further away, and they're like, they come up and they're like, oh, thank you. And it's a simple thing. Give a smile and you just make everyone, I've always believed in that. And it's amazing when you go the extra mile. What kind of situation did you really go the extra mile for? Eric says, if you don't have excellent customer service, eventually you won't have customers. Eric B. Flanoy, you've got the secret to the business. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why resources are so important in this business ecosystem idea. And we've got like a whole system of worksheets and things. You just kind of Mad Libs put it together and it's ready to go. And that's helped a lot of people kind of focus where the business is going to go next. And I mean, if you can nail those little easy things like that, like people matter, and you can surround yourself with other people that can help you help that person, you're unstoppable.
What is the toughest problem you've ever had to go the extra mile for, and how did you handle it?
Being a dad.
I
think it's probably the hardest thing and the most rewarding thing. And
agreed.
I remember when my son was born, I was down in Dallas, and our late friend Dave Jenks asked me. He comes up and he's like, "Chris, how are you? What's new with you? How's everything going?" And I told him, you'll have to excuse me here.
I see little people.
Yeah. So,
Hi.
there's no avoiding it.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
So,
hi guys. Hi,
So-
I'm Cynthia. I'm having a lovely conversation with your dad.
here's Eli.
Hi.
This is not our sister. It's our neighbor.
Here's Emma.
I know. I figured that out because you're the sister. Nice to
And
meet
Claire
you.
Bell's back here. She kind of lives here
Bell?
sometimes. She's always here. So
Is she a good friend? Do you have fun? Blue hair,
Good
rock
movie.
and roll. You dance.
I'll put you on a blanket.
It was so nice to meet you guys. How fun.
All right.
Nothing like the laughter of kids. It's
I
so
said it at the right time, didn't I? Like, what is the most
Perfect.
challenging thing?
perfect.
Is this.
And look
but,
at the
but
timing.
it's also the most rewarding.
And the most fun. Look at how big your smile grew.
Right. Yeah. They're great to have around.
And Ryan said, love Eli and Emma. Does Ryan know them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ryan knows them well.
Excellent.
Yeah. They love Ryan.
Well, excellent.
Okay. So there, to answer your question, the most difficult thing is trying to do all the things that I do and deal with that.
There you go.
It just seems impossible. Some days you're like, wow, what just happened? Like, I'm doing this thing right now. Where did these people come from? Why are you down here? But it's the same thing that's going to make me smile about it in a week of like, these guys, I can't do anything with them. You know, they're home. So yeah, they're down here doing their thing. And it's awesome. Like, so that is the most difficult. But the thing I have to show up for the most is how to balance that with all the responsibilities I still have to do. And, you know, it just comes down to the discipline. And like, that's why a calendar has been amazing. And just having good people in your life that can help you. That's another thing, is don't be afraid to ask for help, because that's a lot of people get hung up on that. And, you know, and learning to be adaptive, like, you know, that kind of thing is just, you don't see that a lot on shows. You don't see that a lot. And it's like, everybody wants to make everything so perfect.
Why? That's like, as Eric just put up, exactly one of the sweetest things you'll ever hear is children having fun.
Amen.
And that's why you live a happy and joyful life. And that's why you're successful. And that's why you have the jump out of bed. And what's your morning routine? You jump out of bed? No, you figure out what you're going to do for the day. You drink your water, or what do you do?
I usually will first thing drink water.
Mm-hmm.
Very first thing. I don't look at my phone. I give that, you know. So I like to, if you're familiar with Savers from the Miracle Morning, check that out. Really, I don't hit all of them. I don't usually hit all of them. But the really important ones are silence. I'll sit there in silence and drink my water and just get my bearings right. Because if I don't do that, if I don't get my head straight, then the whole day is all over the place. But if I just do that one thing in the morning, I drink water and sit completely quiet with my feet planted into the ground, just put my hands in my lap and just close my eyes and just sit there for a minute. If I do that, I'm good to go. Like, that's the only thing I really have to do in the morning. I've been doing a lot of intermittent fasting, so I don't do breakfast anymore. Right?
No,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
It feels good. I did it by accident. I did skip a breakfast or two, and I was like, I felt pretty good today. I'm going to do that on purpose. And I dropped 52 pounds and made me drink a bunch more water. And yeah, it was good. It was good for me. And I like to cook and stuff, you know, so that's really gives me more to look forward to for dinner. So that's pretty fun. But I do that. I've been really bad about this lately, but I do enjoy walking in the morning. Mm-hmm. There for a while, I was really good, at least 3 to 4 miles a morning. And that was awesome. It was easier when we had a dog, right?
That was my next question. Do you have a dog?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the excuse to get a dog right there, just so I start walking again. But I would do those things
for the kids.
Yeah, it's really good for them. And I would take the dog on this death march first thing in the morning, and I'm listening to whatever content I needed. That's when I consume content.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to the right podcasts and being very particular about which ones I listen to. Like, I know a lot of people are just consume everything, and I don't think that that's good for you. I think that you should find the things that are actually going to help you move the needle, not just consume whatever somebody else said just because that's what everybody's reading right now. You know, Tony does great stuff. I don't listen to a lot of Tony Robbins. It's not where I'm at, but I know a lot of people that works really well for. So I don't consume things that I don't think are going to help me. But that's when I'll take on that content. And then coffee has changed. So one thing that I noticed is that by 9 o'clock, I feel like I'm going to walk through a wall because I've been drinking coffee all morning. And so I switched that to I don't have coffee before 10 o'clock if I can avoid it.
Really?
This last week or two has been a little bit earlier, but the reason for that is that, with circadian rhythms, when your cortisol is up like at its highest is around that time, and I've been adding to the stress in my body by just putting buckets of caffeine in my body. I shifted that to just after 10. I don't have the crash in the afternoon anymore, like the 2:30 need another coffee thing.
So you drink coffee up to 10, or you don't drink coffee until 10?
I don't drink it until 10 if I can avoid it.
And then how long do you drink it for? The rest of the day, or do you have it like a cutoff?
I used to be like, all right, this is my last one of the day at 2:30, 2:45 or whatever. And I can drink it later in the day now. It doesn't bother me. I don't have that weird fluctuation in my body where it's like, I'm really up here and now I'm crashing and I'm just all over the place. If I'm really diligent about not drinking coffee till after 10, I'm solid the rest of the day. And it doesn't matter how much of it I drink then. But if I start early in the morning, it's like immediate crash around, 10:30, and I'll have a little bit of energy again. And then 2:30, I'm wiped out.
Oh, terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got too much to do for that.
Yeah. So,
okay. What's next? Then you're in your calendar.
What's that?
Then you're in your calendar, or you're taking kids to school or wherever. What happens next?
Yeah, because the calendar's set up, weeks at a time, and Leslie helps out a lot with that. So we're booking things out a week or two in advance. So I don't look at the calendar until I drop the kids off at school. So we get up, we leave by 7:15 at the latest, and drop off starts at 7:45. Takes about 15 minutes, and then I'm off doing my thing. And I don't have anything booked until usually 8:15 or 8:30. So, and that's usually in town, or I'm driving to a networking meeting out of town, like down in Denver or something. But again, that's all blocked in advance. I'm not the kind of person that spends an additional hour planning to plan on Sunday night. I see no point in that. I'd rather spend that hour with the kids or whatever, and watch a movie, whatever it is, and then I don't have to account for that. So the reason that I love the calendar is like everybody has one of these. Everybody's got it in their face. They're probably looking at it right now. They're probably watching this on here.
Good.
And so, it's always in your hands. So use the tool. I don't check social media and emails, and I don't even have notifications for emails turned on. I don't do any of that, especially not first thing in the morning.
No.
Because if I do all those things I just told you, by the time I get to where I'm supposed to be going by 8:30, 9 o'clock, I already know because I just look at the calendar and just start driving. That's it. There's no guesswork in that. It's the same way that like Steve Jobs, if you noticed, he always wore the black turtleneck.
Right, because he didn't have to put any think of it. You just put on black.
No decision fatigue,
It's a little harder for us girls, but so I was wondering if you had a uniform. Crossed my mind.
No. I just grab a shirt and some jeans and I'm out the door.
Yeah, guys can do that, and it is more casual these days.
Yeah. Most days I don't even comb my hair. So
really?
Yeah, not really.
Okay, so then you work all day. Who picks up the kids, Leslie or you?
Well, it's either me or my wife will get the kids, depending on the day.
I didn't mean Leslie. That's your assistant. I don't know your wife's name, do I?
Marty Joe.
What is it?
Marty Joe.
Marty Joe. Nice name.
And so one of us will pick up the kids. And depending on whatever the day is, that kind of dictates like who's cooking that night too, right? Whoever's out getting the kids has to do the other stuff, or doesn't have to do the other stuff. It's just kind of, that's the balance. Sometimes, some days it doesn't really work all that great at all because it just depends on how the day went. But yeah, it just depends on the day. And then family time from, about 5:30 to 7, then kids routines from 7 till they go to bed, usually around 8. Now summer's been a little different. Summer's been a little bit more lax, but that also seems to lead to a lot of chaos for them. So, that's just kind of the trade-off, right? So kids thrive in those environments with structure, right? Kids crave structure. Yes. They're always looking to see who the adult is in charge so that they know what to do next. Well, if you have them kind of built into your schedule that way, they also can feel that semblance of stability.
Then do you work after they go to bed, or do you relax, or do you plan stuff, or what do you do with that time?
It depends.
8 to 10-ish in there?
It depends. I mean, I'll sometimes consume content then. I'm a huge YouTube person. I love YouTube because I can go on there and watch whatever I want to watch. If I want to learn a new skill, that's usually what I'm doing. It's like, how do I do?
It saves me all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, anything you want to know, it's out there. So that's
I'm
a
like,
good time for me
this
to do
is
that.
broken. Okay, let me start to see what I need to get it fixed. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's amazing.
It's a great tool.
And if you're not YouTubing, you are working on something that YouTube gave you the information how to do.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. I mean, here lately, it's been playing the guitar at night and, writing lyrics and that kind of thing. And that's been that's also relaxing, right?
Yeah, beautiful.
It's a good way to get it out.
Perfect.
Much healthier than other ways of stress relief. That's a very healthy way to do it, I think.
Lovely. And then do you have a set bedtime, or do you stay up late doing your music or whatever?
I've been bad about that lately. Like I used to try to get to bed at a decent hour, and that's just not been happening because I'm like, hey, I got this thing I was writing, and I'll start recording it, and it's been fun.
Yes, I do that with my acting class, as a matter of fact. So last night I went to bed at 2 a.m. and my son said to me, "You what?" And I'm like, and he's like, I said, "But it brings me joy, and I love my actors, and I got to meet some in New York recently, and I gave them hugs, and I've only seen them in boxes for a couple of years, and it was amazing."
Yeah.
I was like, this was an epic trip.
Well, and I would venture to say that staying up late and doing something like that positively pours back into you. You don't wake up the same kind of tired you do when you stayed up late trying to meet a deadline. It just feels different, and you might have gotten the same amount of sleep, but just the level of stress you might be under, or whatever that environment was. Like if I stay up late playing music, I do not feel tired the next day. I feel very, very energized by it.
Yes. You're like, okay, day. And you want to hurry up so you can get back to doing whatever you were on, because it's so exciting, and you got to like, yeah, you're on a roll. You're on a roll. You're on a roll. What would you like to tell us about next? Do you want to tell us about how people can reach out to you to learn more about you? Do you have enough clients you don't need any right now? Do you want to make new friends and networking? What is on your top 3 dream list?
There's no such thing as too many clients.
That's true.
There is a such thing of too many of the wrong clients, but it's important to cultivate a relationship with those people so you get the right clients. So there's never too many, because if our team's working on 15 different projects, but all the projects are really awesome and they're excited about it, it's not stressful for them.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if I give them 2 projects that they absolutely hate, I'm going to hear about it.
Good.
Right? So yeah, no, there's that. No, I'd love to chat with people. I look at networking like this. It's not so much about I'd like to get this person's business, right? A lot of people will join leads groups and things like that because that's kind of the focus. And I'm very much of, tell me about what you do. Tell me your story. Let's have a conversation. And then I try to end that with, okay, before we're done here, how can I help you? Like, what are you looking for? And if you lead with that, you'll get business out of that later. It always comes, because you're not leading with that. How many meetings have you ever gone to where that person throws down their binder full of flyers and things like that, and they're already trying to sell you something? They haven't even asked you, do you want coffee or something? Like there's no conversation. There's no connection there. It's just, let's just get right to it. That's going to be a bad relationship. I can tell you that right now. And I don't want anything to do with those people because they didn't even try to have a conversation. I might do business with that person. They might have something I really want to purchase, but they didn't bother trying to connect, right? So that's a big part of it. And the same was in music too. Is if you hang out in the van and you're not out there interacting with people, you miss a lot of good opportunity to talk to some cool people that might bring their friends with them next time, right? So your show might be bigger. It's the same thing in business. Is if you spend all of your time that you possibly can building those relationships and cultivating a good culture inside of your business, you're always going to have what you need, right? I'm never in a jam. I always know who to call. It's just
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, always Ghostbusters.
I've become part of my best customers' family, as a matter of fact. So they invite me to, I've gone to weddings, bar mitzvahs, baptisms, you name it. And I'm so blessed. Thanksgiving, I mean. And Dan says, connection is humanity, humanity sells. Hi, Dan Altmaier. Nice to see you.
Dan, I'm surprised there wasn't a dad joke or something in there. That was
he's got one.
You got to have one. Come on, throw one up there, man. You got to have one.
We can end with a beautiful dad joke. Love the people, yes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I would love to talk with anybody. If you can go to bluesummitcreative.com, there's a little chat widget in there. Go chat with it and watch what happens. That's all I'm going to say.
One of the things that Chris says is network until you don't have to introduce yourself anymore.
And that's true with everything. Pick an industry. If you're in a band, you keep working so you don't have to introduce yourself anymore.
It's good stuff. You just walk in and everyone's like, do I know you? And you just say, hi, how are you? And you do whatever you're there to do. And then they come circle back up to you and say, hey. And it's very fun.
Yep. Work hard and stay humble. That's it.
Well, does anyone have any questions? Do you have that Dan joke, Dan? Or are we going to say, we love you, Chris. We want you to have a beautiful blue light life with ease, happiness, wealth, and fun times with your children. Because guess what? Next, they're going to be in sports and they're going to be doing activities, and you'll have to have a new place in your calendar for all of those. Oh, here is it, Dan.
Here it is.
What do you call a bass player with diarrhea? A running John?
Band on the run. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Very fun.
I love it.
Eric Rodriguez loved that one too. Chris is one groovy dude, and we're so happy you were on our show. We want to thank you very much. So you know you want to set up the email in there again, Eric? Thank you, Eric. This one. Yep. www.bluesummitcreative.com, and go check them out and just be kind to everybody. You know, people matter. You matter because you are amazing.
You are amazing.
I am amazing.
I am amazing.
We're amazing. So, Chris, if you'll hang on for a minute and go to the green room, we can chat and do our after, and we can say thank you to all the people who are watching this. Please share it out. Please let us know what you're doing, because we like to follow you when we're doing our little content things. We want to know what's going on with each and every one of you, and congratulations to all your successes and many more.